Alright, today we're going to talk about circles and circumference. A couple different things you need to know. First is what a center is. Center of circles right in the middle. Okay, you know what that is. But we use it to find your radius and diameter. Radius is the distance from the center to any point on the circle. So this is the radius. The diameter is the distance across the circle through the center. It has to pass through the center. Just like radius has to start at the center. Okay, now here I've got d equals 2r. What do you think d equals 2r means? Diameter equals twice the radius. The radius is half of the diameter. If you can't tell, okay, that's half of this. So anytime I'm talking about a formula with diameter and they give you radius, times it by 2. Okay, any questions? Alright, write this down. Circumference is the distance around a circle. Sometimes you need to know how far around the circle it is. Alright, and we have a formula that tells me that. And it's this right here. It's pi times diameter. Okay, or it's 2 times the radius times pi, because I told you on the slide before, 2r is the same thing as diameter. 2 times the radius is the same thing as diameter. Alright, now pi, okay, today anytime we use pi, when we actually calculate, we're going to use 3.14. I know it's longer than that, but this is, we don't have to have exact measurements when we're doing this kind of stuff. So we can round it at 3.14. And that's what we're going to use most of the time. Now, something I like to tell you, something that I still remember from when I learned this, okay, is to find the circumference, you use pi d. Pi d. Pi times diameter. Okay? I know it's pi times diameter, but it's just a saying that I was taught 12 years ago, and I still remember it. Pi d. Okay? So circumference is pi d. Alright, write this down. It says use 3.1 for pi. Now, there's another alternative to this, and I'm going to talk about it here in a little bit. Because some of your homework, I want you to do what the book says, and that says use 3.14. Some of the time you're not, and I'll explain that here in a minute. So we need to find the circumference. Circumference is pi d. Pi times diameter. So I replace pi with 3.14. And I replace the diameter with 3, because that's the diameter of the circle. 3 times 3.4 gives me 9.42, which you'll say round the nearest tenth, so 9.4 inches. This is a one-dimensional length. Hey, it's linear, so it's just inches. It's not inches squared. Any questions? So we're given this circle, okay, and it says find circumference. We know circumference is pi d, or pi times diameter. Pi, we're going to use is 3.14. Diameter was my diameter of this. Someone raise their hand and tell me. Someone raise their hand and tell me what the diameter is. Kyle.
10.6.
10.6. Why is it not 5.3? Because that's the radius. The radius is half the distance diameter. So if I'm going to use diameter, I need to times the radius by 2. 5.3 times 2 gives me 10.6. Then I multiply that out. Okay, round the nearest tenth, that gives you this number right there. 33.3 centimeters. Any questions? Alright, now this, when it says use pi, just what it means is use the symbol. It means in terms of pi, use the symbol pi. The reason I have you do this, the book doesn't, but the reason I introduce this to you is because on the OCCT, at the end of your test, you don't get a calculator. So what they do is they take out the steps that use a calculator. Calculating something with terms of pi in 3.14, you would need a calculator to do it quickly, okay, and to save some time. So instead of doing that, they say stop at pi, meaning in terms of pi, that's all you use is this symbol. Okay, it saves you from having to calculate it out, okay, and it saves you from needing a calculator. So let me show you what they want. Circumference is pi d. Pi times diameter. This is the radius, so I've got to times 7 by 2 to get 14. That's my diameter. and it's in terms of pi, so that's my answer. I just take 14 pi. 14 times pi, and it's in millimeters. So 14 times the symbol of pi. Okay, that's the same thing as timesing by 3.14. I just don't know what that is. All right, and since you don't get a calculator, they stop at this point. It's like if you had the square root of 5. They could either ask you to estimate it, or they could say that's your answer, okay, to a problem. Instead of you having to figure out what square root of 5 is, and without a calculator you cannot do perfectly, so instead they just leave that as your answer. So this is the same type of deal. Okay, when they say write it in terms of pi, okay, you just leave it as 14 pi. Okay, write this down. This tells you what the circumference is. It says it's 20.1 feet. What's the radius? So we have to work backwards. This is why I make you write the formula every time, which is required in your homework. Okay, if you don't do this tomorrow, I'm counting it wrong. Okay, circumference is pi d. Pi times diameter. So plug in what you know to this formula. Circumference is 20.1. Pi, okay, is 3.14. And it's asking for diameter. So I've got to change or it's asking for radius. So I've got to change diameter into 2r, right? So I've got to take my radius times 2. But I don't know what my radius is. So the next step I do is I take 3.14 and I times it with 2. I get that out of there. So 6.28 times the radius would give me 20.1. I need to figure out what my radius is. So someone raise their hand and tell me, what do I do? What do I do, Kobe? What? I take 20.1 divided by 6.28. I have 6.28 times radius, so I divide by 6.28. And that gives me 3.2. My radius is 3.2. Alright? So I just work backwards. I fill in what I know and solve for what I don't know, which we've been doing all year long. Any questions? Here's your homework assignment. On 1 through 6, you are to use 3.14, just like we did. 8 through 16, you are to use pi, terms of pi, so use the symbol. Should save you a few steps. 18 and 30 through 33, you will know what they're asking for. Okay? Sometimes it'll be 3.14, sometimes it'll be pi. You'll see what they're asking for.